Hello everyone and welcome to another top 5 video. Today we are going to take a look at what I consider to be the 5 worst coaster types in the game. A coaster type can be bad for a variety of reasons, including having bad stats, having a low capacity and throughput, being boring to build with and being way too big and expensive. One thing that I did not take into account for this list is how good a coaster looks. Some of the coasters on this list can look fantastic if built correctly, but I am only looking at the functionality in scenario play. Of course, this is all just my opinion. If you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments why and also let me know what coaster types you consider to be the worst. Without any further ado, let's get started with the list. At number 5 we have the swinging suspended coaster. First of all, the trains are big ugly boxes, but that's not why it's on this list. Let's start with the cost. It's not the most expensive coaster type, the Twister coaster is quite a bit more expensive, but it's still on the costlier side of the spectrum, so it's still a point against it. Where the Twister coaster gives you some amazing stuff for that cost, the suspended coaster just falls short everywhere. The suspended coaster needs 3 units of clearance instead of the standard 2. This isn't necessarily that bad as all inverted coaster types have this, but combined with the lack of any special elements apart from the super basic ones like S-bands and helixes, it makes this coaster very bulky by nature. On top of all of this, it also has bad stats. Its excitement rating isn't the worst, but its intensity rating is often higher, which isn't great. The worst offender is its nausea stat though. The suspended coaster possibly has the highest natural nausea stat of all coaster types, which means that all designs are vomit machines. The only good thing about the suspended coaster are the very long trains, which allows you to abuse ultra steep lift hills, although this does have the downside of needing a very long station to get those trains. In conclusion, the swinging suspended coaster isn't the worst at anything, but it is bad or mediocre at almost everything, which is why it is at number 5 on my list. At number 4 on the list we have the Hardline Twister coaster. I bet many of you thought that this would be at number 1. While the Hardline is a terrible coaster type, it does have some redeeming qualities. Let's start with the most infamous attribute, the worst stats in the entire game. It's not uncommon to have a hardline coaster with something like 4 excitement and 9 intensity. There's no other coaster type that even comes close to this terrible excitement to intensity ratio. The hardline coaster also contributes only 35 to the soft gas cap, which is the lowest amount of any coaster type and less than a lot of flat rides like the merry-go-round and the maze. The hardline can also be annoying to build with as it has no turns. Instead it uses some unique transfer pieces to turn around. This does have an upside though, as being only 1 tile wide makes it fit in a lot of small and tight spaces. The hardline has a decent throughput for a ride with single cars, but it's still not great compared to most coaster types with longer trains. All in all, the hardline is difficult to build, has awful stats, but is also quite compact. At number 3 we have the Steeplechase. The Steeplechase is just the epitome of mediocrity. It has low stats with intensity usually being the highest. The stats are quite similar to those of the Junior coaster, but while the Junior coaster has access to useful elements like the curved lift hill and curved drops, the Steeplechase does not. Combined with a length requirement of 240 meters, this means that you're not going to make small compact designs with this coaster anytime soon. The Steeplechase has single cars, which means that it has a low throughput and loses speed quickly. As a result of this, you cannot make very large designs unless you either have a huge lift hill or you have multiple lift hills, which is annoying if you need to build bigger and more exciting coasters. It also means that it's just not going to be that profitable. The only thing that the Steeplechase has going for it is that it's quite cheap. However, this doesn't even come close to offsetting its numerous faults, as there are many other cheap coasters that have way fewer disadvantages. At number 2 on the list we have the reverse Freefall coaster. This coaster type is somewhat similar to the Hardline coaster. Both rides are always just a single tile wide and both have bad stats, although the reverse freefall is still quite a bit better than the hardline in terms of those stats. A small reverse freefall design can have quite a decent throughput and be fairly profitable, and with its compactness it can be quite useful for that. This is where its usefulness ends though, as larger designs don't get that much better stats and their throughput gets very low very quickly. The main reason that this coaster is at number 2 isn't that its stats or throughput are bad though, it's that it's by far the most boring coaster type in the game. Every design is the exact same except it's a bit larger or a bit smaller. It's basically the same as a launched freefall, except the launched freefall has 2 different operating modes, so even the launched freefall is more exciting to build with than the reversed freefall coaster. Before I reveal what is in my opinion the worst coaster type in the game, I want to give a few dishonorable mentions to coasters that are bad but manage to stay just out of the top 5. First we have the multi-dimensional coaster, which is expensive, difficult to build and contends with the swinging suspended coaster for the highest natural nausea rating in the game. The other dishonorable mentions are all bad because of the same thing. The bobsleigh coaster, reverser coaster and side friction coaster all have bad stats and they can all fly off the tracks and crash if you take a hill too fast. They're not quite bad enough to land in the top 5, but they're certainly not any good either. Now it's time to reveal the worst coaster type in the game. At number 1 we have the mini suspended coaster. This coaster type is very similar to the Steeplechase, but worse in every aspect. It has awful stats, loses speed incredibly quickly, has a super low support limit and has an incredibly poor maximum throughput. There's nothing more annoying than building a design that even the Steeplechase easily has the speed for to make it, only for the mini suspended coaster to lose all its speed halfway the track. It has access to only 3 special elements, the station and the S-bands, and those are so common that you can't really call them special anymore. This, combined with 200 meter length requirement, means that you're not going to build any compact designs with this anytime soon. In conclusion, there is nothing redeemable about the mini suspended coaster. It's terrible in every way and you're better off building something like a merry-go-round. That was my rant about what I think are the 5 worst coaster types in the game. If you want me to do any other top 5s, please let me know in the comments. Thank you all for watching and I will see you in the next video.